You guys have been asking us a lot of questions about what it's like moving to Costa Rica, living in Costa Rica, building a house in Costa Rica, and living in an eco-community, in an intentional eco-community in Costa Rica. So we are going to be answering those questions in this video.
We get this question a lot, actually, from family, from friends, from you guys out there. Why did we pick Costa Rica? So we've traveled to 60 plus countries around the world.
Why Costa Rica?
How did we settle on this one tiny little country? It was like a respect of nature, quality of food, being able to grow things there. It was the fun and the excitement of the country. There's beaches all over the country, there's waterfalls all over the country, there's adventure all over the country.
The Latin culture, which we both love.
Right, we both speak Spanish, so we love that. And it's also not too far away from home, from like Toronto or Canada.
5-hour flight or just over, direct.
Mixed with now there's like a whole community element to Costa Rica, just made us pick it as home.
What kind of timeline are you looking at for your Airstream home?
It will be done September.
Yeah, so like in a month and a half now.
Yeah.
And we started in May? Beginning of June?
Yeah,
Beginning of June.
It was 15 weeks from breaking ground to completion. It's cool that we get to design a house. It's a pretty amazing process. It can be frustrating and it can feel expensive because like you're kind of paying for everything up front rather than like having a mortgage and then
that's what
paying
we're doing.
little by little by little.
Some people do still take out like a mortgage or a loan.
But I mean, you start seeing all the costs of everything, right? Of every single thing in the house.
Yeah.
So yeah, it can feel more expensive, but it's not.
How much does it cost for a lot and to build a basic house in Costa Rica?
That entirely depends on where you buy your land. If you're buying it close to the coast, you know, you could be spending $100,000 for like half an acre of land, and that's just the land, and there's nothing else around. There's no facilities, there's like probably not neighbors, there's nothing. You still got to build a house. Then if you want to be like further away, land gets cheaper and cheaper. Further away from the coast, further away from like major cities or highways, but it's going to be like tough to get to that land. Now, if you buy in a community, you're going to have way more services. So like in our community, we have fiber optic internet, all the community aspects. We have the farm built in, we have huge swimming pool, we have a rec center, we're going to be building a restaurant, there's like a workspace. So there's all these extra things. Our land was 130,000 US. That's for half an acre, but it also comes with all this extra stuff. It's pretty good value in my mind. And
I agree. I mean, I've heard of people, you know, getting a little tiny 1-bedroom in a piece of land, like half acre for like 60,000. But again, you're like away from everybody. You're like in the jungle off of a bumpy dirt road. So it really varies. Just like it probably varies where you live right now.
It costs between $60 to like $120, let's say, per square foot. Now, it can be even cheaper than that. And in fact, our structure was cheaper than that because it was pretty bare. We weren't putting walls, we weren't building bedrooms. Most of it was empty space. So I think we paid about $45 a square foot. If you go on the high end, if you want you want marble, you want everything beautiful, you want thick glass, you want
teak wood and
you want everything.
Stuff.
It's going to cost you $120, $150 a square foot.
Do you think it's possible to live in Costa Rica without knowing the language?
Yeah, of course.
Possible, yes.
I mean, especially in Costa Rica, there's a lot of people that speak English. We know people that have been there for like 20 years and ellos no saben cómo hablan español. Y es un problema. Ellos no pueden hablar con los ticos que viven en Costa Rica. If you have like a friend there that's a local, it's much more complicated to share ideas or to crack jokes. It's just way easier if you learn the language.
I also think if you're gonna live in a place where the language is different from your own, the first language, that it's a respect thing to learn the language. You're living there. You want to be as immersed in the culture as possible, right? Like, why else are you moving to another country? Like, you want to be part of it. And being part of it is being able to speak the language that they speak there.
Also, Kai is becoming like semi-fluent in Spanish.
My gosh.
It's incredible how quickly she's picking up the language.
Not just learning the words and understanding the words, but her accent is like, and her rolling of the R's, the R is just like, how is the safety in terms of crime?
Costa Rica is generally a very safe country. They don't even have a military in the country. When we're driving around, we, don't really see homeless people. I feel like I see more homeless people, in Toronto or going to New York or California, like in these first world countries. In terms of crime, it's more petty theft. There's not really like dangerous, crazy crimes that you see, here in North America.
This is also based on our personal experience and what we hear from friends and other people. I've never felt unsafe in the country. And we've been traveling all over, including San Jose, the capital, which tends to be capitals of different countries, tends to be where most of the crime is happening. Walking around there, I've never felt like in danger. We did have a situation where someone did break into our Airstream and take something. They took a generator because our Airstream was empty, and the only thing that was in there of value was our generator.
They didn't break anything. They didn't break any windows or anything, but they got in and then took the generator and left.
Yeah, but now there's great security, and we're going to have a security system of our own. So I think that's really important because, as Sia mentioned, petty theft is a thing. We know many people who have had people break into their houses when they're not there and take things. A lot of places, they have good people and bad people, and things happen everywhere.
Yeah, Costa Rica is overall a safe place.
Medical attention.
We haven't had many issues arise where we needed serious medical attention. We've heard from our friends in Costa Rica that have. Generally, it depends on what hospital you go to. There's some really good hospitals, and then there's some like rundown hospitals. So make sure you do your research, where to go in case of an emergency.
I mean, the best hospitals tend to be in San Jose.
Yeah.
We're about 40 minutes when there's no traffic away. But I mean, if something major happens, like a snake bite, we got to get to that. We got to go to San Jose. Hopefully we don't have to deal with that. But in terms of I've got a lot of dental stuff done, which is very affordable there, and they're very good at it. We've done some medical stuff for ourselves, for Kai.
Yeah, Kai had some rashes on her and immediately went to the doctor. They did tests. They called in, someone to do blood samples. We got our results right away.
Immediately.
There is government-funded public health for local Costa Ricans or even expats that are now residents and want to pay into it. It's called caja. So you have a monthly fee and then you get access to healthcare. But there's also the private healthcare, which is very affordable. We're not residents there yet, so whenever we have an issue, we have to pay to go see the doctor or pay to get a checkup or pay to get an x-ray. And it's really not that much.
Yeah, I mentioned I was at the doctor for an hour and a half for a checkup. And it cost me 35,000 colones, which is about $60, $70 Canadian. How much does the solar cost that we are going to be putting on our Airstream jungle home?
That's a good question. I'm going to save that for another video because I don't have all the final details yet of what we're going to be putting in, how many batteries, how much cable I'm going to need, how many panels I want. So that's a great question, and I'm going to do a whole video just on solar.
How do you travel with Atlas to Costa Rica? He's actually a support animal, so I'm able to bring him on the plane with me. I deal with anxiety, so I have been able to make Atlas a support animal. But he's also under the weight limit for a lot of airlines. To be brought aboard anyway, I would just have to pay an extra fee to have him there. I think it's between $50 to $100 for an international flight to bring your dog on board.
If he wasn't
a support animal.
Support. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So then he would have to be in a carrier the whole time. Whereas now he can just sit on my lap if he wants to, or just on the ground by my feet. How big is our eco community, and how many families?
It's 180 acres. There's 144 lots. How many different countries are there again?
30, over 30.
Yeah, that's amazing. Right? There's going to be so many different cultures and influences and languages and
celebrations.
Yeah, colors of people and it's going to be a really spectacular community.
Now I'm moving to my phone because some more questions have come in recently.
In the meantime, I had a few questions that people sent me. One was what's one of your biggest highlights of living in Costa Rica, and what frustrates you the most?
Highlights of living in Costa Rica, oh my gosh, the food, the fruit, being able to grow anything. Because Costa Rica has 12 microclimates, you can literally grow like anything there. The endless adventures. It's a small country, but it's got everything. You could drive to the ocean, you can drive to the mountains, you can see a volcano, you can go ziplining, you can go whitewater rafting, you can relax on the beach. Like, it really is endless. The downsides, things that can kill you in Costa Rica, like snakes. So that's something that I have to always think about. And our daughter can't run into the bush like she can here in Canada. It's not the same, or our dog. Like, I'm constantly like, okay, you can't go here, you have to put your shoes on here. Like, it's just a different way of living there.
I'm frustrated at how like slow things take sometimes.
Pura vida, it's Tico time.
Yeah, it's kind of like, I know it's not an island, but it's like island time, right? Things take way longer than they should. Going to the bank, that's easy 2 hours. You gotta take a number and sit in a queue, and that's frustrating, right? Is there any downside so far to living in a community-based environment? I mean, there's gonna be extreme opinions in any group of people, but in the community, you kind of have to listen to all those opinions and hear everybody out. And sometimes it can be a little much. Everyone has their own extremes.
And their values.
Their
too,
values
right?
that they want to live by.
It makes you a better listener. It makes you a better communicator. It's been a learning experience, but it's also been so beautiful. And the people that we already know, part of the community, it feels like family. It truly feels like family, and it's exactly more, actually, than I could have imagined living in an intentional community. Like, this is what we wanted, and it's even more than what I thought it would be.
There are a ton of questions that we aren't going to get to in this video. I'm sure it's long enough, but we'll save these questions for another Q&A video. And if you have any more, drop them in the comment section below in this video so that we can use them for the next one.
Thank you again for those who did ask the questions, and we'll see you in our next video. Ciao, ciao. Hasta luego.
Hasta luego.